One of the things I've tried to do over the years is to encourage people to understand that each and every one of us has the ability to change the world, to make a difference, that we just need to harness our skills and our abilities and couple that to the wagon of courage and passion and imagination. And with that, you can do incredible things. But also, most importantly, people should be encouraged to understand that to not allow anybody to deter you. If you believe that something is right, then go for it and accept the challenges that are put in your way. And it's an extremely rewarding, life if you approach it that way.
Yeah. You're listening to the Rewilding Earth podcast. He's been called a pirate, an eco-warrior, and a controversial hero. For over 4 decades, Captain Paul Watson has been a relentless force in the fight to protect our oceans and the life within them. Founder of the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society and the Paul Watson Foundation, Captain Watson and his crews have taken direct action against illegal whaling, sealing, and fishing operations around the globe. Due to Paul and his crew's unrelenting pressure, countless whales and other marine life have been spared. From upholding international whaling laws against Japan's illegal whaling operations to disrupting the hunts of the notorious Faroe Islands, his tactics have earned him both praise from conservationists and condemnation from the remaining few whaling nations. Today, Watson joins us to discuss his recent arrest and 5-month ordeal in a Danish prison, facing possible extradition to Japan, the unwavering commitment that drives him, and what lies ahead in the ongoing battle to save our seas. Okay, well, first of all, has this begun to sink in? How are you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling really good. I'm really happy that I'll be able to be home for Christmas with my 2 little boys.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to do that as well. Japan's had it in for you for quite a while, and you guys have been duking it out for many years. And you've always come out on top, much to the chagrin of Japan and the other remaining whaling countries. But this time, how big of a mistake would you say Japan has made?
Well, what they did was I was able to turn my incarceration into a campaign to continue to focus attention on their illegal whaling operations. So I think it backfired on them there because it got worldwide attention. And not only that, we had the added bonus of focusing attention on the killing of pilot whales and dolphins in the Danish Faroe Islands. So I was quite confident in the evidence and the documentation that I wouldn't be extradited to Japan. It just took Denmark like 5 months to come to that same conclusion. And in the end, it was a political decision. The Danish Attorney General made the decision, although the court ruled that I should be extradited.
Yeah, I can't believe it took that long. It was tense. From the outside, it looked like you were probably one of the busiest prisoners there. You were able to do an awful lot, as you said. It was a mass mobilization. From out here, it was every day. Free Paul Watson and lots and lots of organizing. So it was really cool, actually, under the circumstances, to see everyone rally like that.
Yeah, it was hard to get the information out. Fortunately, I had Lamia Samlami from Sea Shepherd France and Nathalie Gill from Sea Shepherd Brazil came to Greenland to visit. So on their visits, they were able to, get information out. And also I received, I think while I was in there, about 4,500 letters altogether. And although I couldn't answer all of them, I tried to answer as many as possible. And I was able to do quite a few interviews while, the media interviews, which they made arrangements to come into the prison to do those interviews, like The Guardian, even Nat Geo came in and did an interview.
Yeah. Was there any particular clarifying moment for you when you were in? Any new plans or any adjustment in the plans going forward that you've had?
Well, for 50 years, I've been working to oppose whaling operations around the world, and it's been a very successful 50 years. We've shut down whaling since 1974. We shut down whaling in Australia and Chile, South Africa, Spain, Peru, South Korea. So about 90% of the world's whaling has been ended. And as of 2019, whaling has been restricted to the territorial waters of Japan, Iceland, and Norway, although Japan's trying to get back to the Southern Ocean. And I think that a lot of the publicity that this campaign generated has kept them from returning this year and hopefully again next year. Nevertheless, we have a ship in Australia ready to intercept them if they should return to the Southern Ocean whale sanctuary. And we also have a ship in the Atlantic to oppose a couple of vessels actually to oppose any attempts by Iceland to resume whaling in June of 2025.
Some people are, I've been reading a lot, and some people are saying this decision may or may not be a big help in the broader fight in the intimidation of activists around the world by countries using international laws like they did with you or the court system. Do you see this as maybe having any kind of a chilling effect?
Well, I think that Japan has been trying to, look at this as a deterrent from anybody interfering with their art. But we're seeing more and more repressive measures being taken against activists over the last 10, 20 years, more so than, before. And we're probably going to be more so. I think that the key to success is what our approach is, which I call aggressive nonviolence, to aggressively intervene, but don't injure anybody. And we've never caused an injury to anybody. And really, it takes a combination of passion, courage, and imagination to make a difference. So we always have to come up with new ideas, how to capture everyone's attention at the same time without hurting anybody. Like a good example this last year, I think, has been the movie, How to Blow Up a Pipeline and everything, which is brilliant. How to blow up a pipeline by not blowing up a pipeline. Mm-hmm. And, FBI were all nervous about the whole thing. But it turned out, the message got across and nobody was hurt. And, so again, it proves that the most powerful weapon on the planet is the camera. And if used properly, it can change the world.
And it has. I mean, wow, just by your example, but I think a lot of people are picking up on that now and realizing that is the way to go. How might the rewilding movements and ocean conservation movements work better together going forward? How might we best work together on these things?
Well, of course, everything's connected. Whether it be, for instance, when I worked with Chief Brownie in the Amazon, when we were at the COP21 conference, it was the lungs of the earth. One lung is green, one lung is blue, and together that they provide the life support system for the planet. And so both are very, very, very important. But also, the strength of an ecosystem is in diversity. Therefore, the strength of any movement is in diversity. So it's really literally thousands and thousands of individuals and organizations working towards the same thing. And even doing something, just a small thing by devoting it's not really a small thing, but by devoting your life to protecting just one little species, be it of a plant or an animal or everything, that can truly make a difference. And for example, because of Diane Fossey, we still have mountain gorillas in Rwanda. And David Wingate, an individual in Bermuda who, because of that one man, the Bermuda storm petrel did not go extinct. And I can't think of a more noble thing that anyone could do, is that because you lived, a species was saved from extinction or a habitat was protected. So unfortunately, there's no end to the challenges that we have to face. And everything out there needs a champion, whether, it be a river system or a particular species or whatever. Just have to focus on championing a particular individual or cause or whatever. And I think that's cumulatively, that's what makes a difference.
Yeah. So the other side's always going to have more money and apparently more power. This is probably not going to be the last time you're harassed. What do you think about that going forward? It takes a lot of courage to do what you do, and a lot of other people are doing very courageous things. And we see them being constantly poked and prodded and attacked and jailed. And was there any clarifying moment when you were incarcerated that you came up with any ideas about how we do that? How do we be courageous in this sort of environment?
Well, you have to take every situation and view it as an opportunity. And in my case, our campaign where I was taken off the ship and put into the prison presented an opportunity to continue to expose illegal Japanese whaling. And we always have to look for those opportunities and, use everything at your disposal within the context of the situation that you're in. And so really, that's all you really can do. But also, I think it's important to operate within the boundaries of practicality. And that is, I've been doing that. I'm 74 years old now, and I've never been convicted of a crime, but I've been in jail numerous times. So you have to expect that that's one of the prices you have to pay. And when you really look at the history of social movements, anybody who's ever accomplished anything spent some time in jail, whether it be Gandhi or Mandela or so many other peoples. And that's just something that you have to do. But you make the best of it and make it work for you, and that. And so I look at the past 5 months as having presented an opportunity to turn this entire thing into a campaign to further expose what Japan and Denmark are doing.
What do you think about 2025 and going ahead? I know you've probably just got your family and other things in your mind right now.
Well, we're prepared to confront Iceland again in June for when they intend to go back to killing whales illegally. We have a ship stationed in Australia, prepared to intervene if Japan returns to the Southern Ocean. I'm also working with projects with Sea Shepherd France to protect the turtles in Mayotte, which actually the Mayotte just got ravaged by a cyclone, and so the situation there is very desperate. And when things become desperate, they turn to poaching. So we're encouraging local people to go out there and do everything they can to protect the turtles from the poachers. Protecting orcas off of Iberia and overfishing in the North Atlantic. Working with Sea Shepherd Brazil to protect the river dolphins and the manatees in Amazonia. So it's an extensive diversity of challenges that we have to overcome.
Yeah. How do you handle this? I mean, you've been doing it long enough. It probably is no big deal to you, but the scope of these individual operations is just kind of mind-boggling.
Don't do it all by myself. So,
right.
There's a lot of people with great talents who are involved around the world. And, one of the things I've tried to do over the years is to encourage people to understand that each and every one of us has the ability to change the world, to make a difference, that we just need to harness our skills and our abilities and couple that to the wagon of courage and passion and imagination. And with that, you can do incredible things. But also, most importantly, people should be encouraged to understand that to not allow anybody to deter you, to if you believe that something is right, then go for it and accept the challenges that are put in your way. And it's an extremely rewarding, life if you approach it that way.
Yeah. I really wanted to ask you this ever since I saw the interview, and I saw you talking about whale communication and science and even AI. And I have to ask you about what you think about all of that. I was really, really inspired and intrigued by what you talked about.
Well, way back in 1974, I was absolutely convinced that we would one day be able to communicate with whales. I mean, we're looking at a really, sophisticated intelligence with animals that have far better communication abilities than we do. And last year, there was a successful communication between scientists and a humpback whale up in the Bering Sea. And now their scientists are working with AI and, looking to communicate with sperm whales. In fact, we're actually breaking a lot of barriers in understanding the language of birds or even the language of trees. All of these species communicate with each other. And whales actually communicate with each other like our computers do. So, they process a large amount of information in sound bites and then communicate with each other on that. I mean, these are intelligent capabilities far beyond anything that we're capable of. But I think with the assistance of computers, technology, whatever, that we will be able to surmount that. And that's a possibility for actually doing something. I hope in my lifetime that we'll one day be able to talk to a whale. I don't know if we really want to know what they think about what we've done to them, but
yeah.
There's a lot to learn there. I mean, we spend billions and billions of dollars searching through the universe for extraterrestrial intelligence when it's sitting right here on our own planet.
Yeah, I know. I think it's crazy too that we want to go to Mars and turn it into an Earth while we're turning Earth into Mars.
Yeah, and if we're not capable of communicating with with other creatures on our own planet, we're certainly not going to be able to communicate with whatever extraterrestrial life there may be somewhere in the universe.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think of often, especially the deep sea stuff that you see, that the aliens that must be among us, because there's some really crazy stuff, and hardly anybody really cares about that stuff. It never gets past, like Discovery Channel and Attenborough.
We all were prisoners of this anthropocentric mentality that everything was created for us. It's all about us. We're the only species that actually matters. And the very idea that to suggest that other creatures are intelligent or more intelligent than we are is considered very bizarre. I was debating a Norwegian whaler one time, and he said to me, "Watson, you say that whales are more intelligent than people. How can you say something so absolutely stupid?" And I said, "George, I measure intelligence by the ability to live in harmony with the natural world. And by that criteria, whales are far more intelligent than we are." And he said, "Well, by that criteria, cockroaches are more intelligent than we are." I said, "George, you're beginning to understand what I'm trying to tell you."
I love that. Yeah, the also you had talked about how whales are very open about feeding areas, and they don't hoard things like we do, like hide the gold and hide the stuff that we do. The whales just tell each other from across the ocean where the best feeding grounds and everything are. They're so open and sharing, and I thought that was a really cool conversation as well.
Well, they also live in an ecosystem where they don't need material things like tools or whatever. We equate intelligence with the ability to use tools. It's eye-to-hand coordination. I mean, if a blob of protoplasm steps out of a spaceship with a ray gun, no argument, it must be intelligent. But we just cannot understand what was it? An intelligence that doesn't have tools. It doesn't have a need for tools, and so that's a fail. It's primate behavior. In fact, greed is actually primate behavior. It's not just found in humans. It's also found in chimpanzees and baboons too. That's a fault of our particular group of animals. But I don't think that orcas or dolphins and whales and that, I don't think they're capable of that kind of thing. Greed. I don't even think they're capable of vengeance. We hear about an attack on a human by a shark or by a dolphin or whatever, and say, well, they're after us or vengeance. But I don't think they're capable of that. For instance, we're dealing with a situation right now off of Iberia where orcas have been accused of attacking sailboats and causing damage to sailboats. And immediately people jumped out, well, they must have some sort of revenge against us. They're going after it. But really it comes down to playing. They're just playing with it. And one of the things that we discovered that works is that if your boat's being harassed by orcas, you just throw some floating buoys out alongside and they'll go after them too. They're just, there's no intent to actually cause harm to people. I've been in situations in my life with orcas, with dolphins, with sharks, with whales, and so many other species that could have easily have killed. And that didn't happen and didn't even come close to happening. I've actually, back in 1975, three of us jumped into the water in front of a pod of approaching orcas in the Bella Bella Straits in British Columbia. And that was interesting. We jumped into the water, and when you see an orca from the deck of a ship, that's one thing. But when you're now looking at the orca and only your head's above the water, that's a completely different perspective. And we saw the pod approaching. And my first thought was, these guys eat sea lions, And suddenly they all dove. And the only thing more disconcerting than a pod of approaching orcas is one that suddenly disappears. And now you don't know where they are. And they did. They surfaced right beside us. And for some silly reason, I reached out and I grabbed the dorsal fin of the one right beside me. And he pulled me through the water for about, 100 meters. And then I was spinning off in his wake. And it occurred to me, you don't go up into the Serengeti and pet a lion on the head. And this is the most powerful predator on the planet, just allowed me to ride alongside with them. Now, I don't think it's because they like us so much, but I think they're intelligent enough to understand that they have to live, it's a mutual coexistence with us, that they know how dangerous we are. Yeah. And therefore, let's not mess with these people. They're extreme. And there's never been a case of an orca attacking a human being in the wild. It's never happened. We go back to 1912 when Captain Scott's men were crossing the ice and orcas came up underneath of them, knocked them off their feet. When the orcas realized that they weren't penguins, they just left. They didn't pursue the attack.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a trend for the paddle boarders to put videos up on YouTube having encounters, and the commenters are always like, "Wow, that's really dangerous. That's really he was going to eat you." All of those things, and I think it's just more exciting for people to tell that story and imagine those things than ever even accepting the idea that they're just playing and curious.
I've met quite a few surfers who've actually been attacked by sharks, lost limbs, arm or leg, and have turned out to become champions for the sharks. They understand that this is their ecosystem. It wasn't anything vindictive, that unfortunately a surfer looks like a seal from underneath, and it's usually a case of mistaken identity. But we do have to realize that this is their home. Kelly Slater, he said in response to sharks, he said, well, if you don't want to be attacked by sharks, just don't go into the water. It's as simple as that. This is a risk you have to take. And I found over the years that people like surfers and divers and that, a lot of them become ambassadors for the ocean. They understand the ecosystem they're in, and that the best thing is to do no harm when they're in that in their home.
Right. Well, Paul, I really, really thank you for taking the time to do this.
Oh, thank you. I want to add just one more thing is how much, I miss Dave Foreman. I had the opportunity to spend some time with him just a couple of years ago. And, he has always been an inspiration in my life ever since I met him in the early 80s.
Yeah, me too. Miss him bad. All right. Well, thank you so much, Paul, and good luck, and enjoy your family. And we'll all be anxiously awaiting your next move and all your new news.
Thank you.
You're listening to the Rewilding Earth podcast. Did you know we also publish insightful and inspirational content from leading rewilding scholars, poets, artists, and organizers from around the world? You can visit rewilding.org and sign up for our weekly digest to receive brilliant, fresh insights on everything rewilding. You'll find over a decade of articles and news from the front lines of wildlands protection and all kinds of restoration efforts. Check us out at rewilding.org, and don't forget to share it with friends. Thanks for listening to the Rewilding Earth podcast. We do what we do because of you. This podcast is supported by listeners like you who long to live in a wilder world. Please consider donating at rewilding.org and subscribe to our weekly news and article digest while you're there. To go the extra mile, you can follow and share Rewilding Earth on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Bonus points for sharing this podcast with your friends. To listen to past episodes, go to rewilding.org/pod. That's rewilding.org/pod.